Hi Guy, thought we'd have another history look back today and a bit of experience with the Sega Dreamcast. I mean, this is going back a fair bit for me. I think it came out around about September, October 99. Might be off a bit there, but I mean, I was working at the time, wasn't earning a lot of money, so you know, when a console launch came around, you'd be like months and months and months of saving. And I do remember at the time, I must have saved up for about probably 5 months, because I'd put in a pre-order at Game, and I think they were doing this like special package, and you could pay about £700 or £800 and you get the console and either all the launch games or about 10 of the launch games, and I'd never done anything like this before, and I thought that's what I'm going to do. Crazy, because it included some really awful titles, and I've just got a list of them here which I've just made a note of, and you've got things like this is the European launch, so it would have been the UK as well. Virtua Fighter, didn't like that one, wasn't as good as Soul Calibur, which came later. Toy Commander, amazing game, loads of fun with that, especially with the Christmas edition when it got released as a magazine demo later on. Sonic Adventure, that was first proper steps into a 3D game for Sonic. It had its problems, but it has a lot of good points, and I really loved it back in the day. The whole thing with the Chaos Creatures and the VMUs was just genius, because it was, you know, Tamagotchi was still a thing back then, and it was a huge craze at the time. And I had a lot of fun with that. I used to take it to work with me on the train and stuff and drive people mad. Sega Bass Fishing. I think that came with a peripheral. I remember I've owned that at some point. I'm not sure if that was one of the launch titles I got. I just cannot remember. Sega Rally Championship, pretty good driving game. I'd never felt that one was as good as Sega Rally on the Sega Saturn, so probably just got skipped over. Expendable, never played that. Incoming, never played that. Pen Triathlon, I don't remember playing that one. Dynamite Cop, that was an amazing game. I think it was supposed to be like a Streets of Rage title at first, and then it got rejigged to be a what was it, a sequel to something else, I can't remember. Great game though, it was Die Hard as an arcade action title. Blue Stinger, I remember that being terrible. I mean, really terrible. I don't know if that gets a lot of love to this day, so yeah, not one for me. Then there was Choo Choo Rocket, which came as a pack-in. It had a single player, but the main push of it was online. Broadband wasn't a thing in the UK at the time. I don't think it was a thing across the world, really. It was, you know, it was only just properly starting to take off. And you know, and broadband was very expensive, like around about that time. But I didn't have it. It was all dial-up for me. I mean, and one of the things I do remember doing is, you know, this is back when we had all our CRTs, and my parents had this huge one in the living room, big 32-inch, you know, huge, like you've seen in some of the earlier videos where I record on the big screen, that size. It was absolutely incredible. Yeah, and then you could just go on the internet, and I can remember that going online, and it was used to the speeds at the time. You know, you use the internet today compared to back then, and you know, loading a web page today would probably take about 5 minutes on the old dial-up service, and it was always horrendous on the Dreamcast. But at the time, I'd never seen anything like it. Never had a console that could go online. They did a whole marketing push about it being, you know, everything's going to be online. There's going to be like 1.something billion people, was it, some silly numbers like that, and as if they'd sell that many consoles. I mean, it was Sega at the end of the day. But yeah, the potential was there. I mean, this was online before Xbox Live even was a twinkle in somebody's eye to even become a thing, and it worked really well. The network was great. It had its own software and stuff. Some games included where you could have some sort of online play and stuff like that, but again, the speeds just weren't there to do it in the early days. Eventually it came out with the broadband adapter, and I think it was Phantasy Star Online that brought all that about. But yeah, it was a very interesting time in gaming. It was very exciting and new, and Sega were really pulling out all the stops, because some of the Dreamcast games you were getting at the time were just brilliant. You know, things like Crazy Taxi, like Echo the Dolphin game. I mean, I thought that was a launch title. I must have got that shortly after launch, because I played that to death, but I never got very far on it. It was the whole swimming around the water and exploring, and then I'm redeemed with this bit with a shark, which just took me forever. Ugh. Yeah, it wasn't a great game, but it was a great experience. A bit like Sonic Adventure. That had moments of intense awesomeness. I mean, I remember stuff like running down the side of a building in a skateboard, the bit with a huge killer whale jumping out of the water and smashing the decks. That's just my light reflector, that's just falling over there. Whoops. That actually looks better now. Anyway, it's a bit of a, whoa, good timing with the shark there. But yeah, so you'd be running down that beach at the time. I mean, you played Sonic games before, they were all 2D, and you go running down this thing and you weren't expecting it, and all of a sudden, boom, you come out of the water and you're running, oh my god. And it was just a whole other new experience on a whole new level. And as the game library increased over, because it was a very short-lived console, but I mean, we got stuff like Shenmue. I've said before, but Shenmue is probably one of the greatest games I've ever played, and I actually put that above like Ocarina of Time, which is probably my second favourite. But the Shenmue games was something really, really special. We'd never had anything in that sort of detail before, not as anywhere near that sort of goodness, I don't think, and especially on any of the consoles. I mean, PCs were always different. You had the whole Ultima 7 for especially, where you could explore the world, but even then that was all just a top-down view, so it was very, very different. And just being able to walk around this 3D world and interact with stuff and talk to different people, and yes, he was mostly looking for sailors, but the point is, we just we weren't used to that in games, and it is a bit of a joke now. I mean, it's nothing. It's just most games you expect that level of exploration, but I don't know what it was about Shenmue. It was just very special at the time. And yeah, but what a games library. I mean, thinking back, a number of RPGs I played on this, it was never going to be a lot, because like I say, the third party stuff was a bit poor, but Sega just went nuts for games, and and probably one of the best one on the system that I loved and played to death with was Skies of Arcadia. And I completed that multiple times, and that was your standard Japanese RPG, but with quite a neat battle system. You could, we've made the battles feel like they were live, whereas you used to think like in the Final Fantasy games where you were queuing for your turn and stuff, and this one was more interactive and it felt like you were part of a battle and it was more exciting. Add to that, you were like building up your pirate home base or your island, because everything was in the sky and floating, all these islands and stuff, and even the ships floated. Very weird. And then you go around being a pirate and robbing stuff and stealing stuff and improving your base and your ship, and it was just a good mismatch of genre types, I suppose, because it was a bit of strategy as well, type game mixed in there. But yeah, it was just really, really interesting, and it was just a shame that it failed. Sega just could not take it. I think it's because they pretty much ruined their own reputation. They could not get any about the likes of EA. They decided to just step away after all the trouble over the Mega Drive and Saturn. I mean, the Saturn that's another story as I was performing. That was just a disaster, really. The way they treated customers and developers and stuff, and then it was just a mess. And then by the time we get to the Dreamcast, we had so much potential, and it died way, way too early. And it's just a shame what the things we could have got. I mean, just think of the Shenmue series alone. That could have been that they kept using that engine, and they'd been given more time, we'd have probably got the third and fourth game by the end. It's like, God damn it, Sega, why did you run out of money? But yeah, I mean, it had so many good things for it. One of the main problems, I mean, the reliability, even back in the day, because I had two over the lifespan, and my launch console failed, and then I had to go and buy another. I was quite well, not happy to do so, but I wanted to do so because the number of great games I was getting as it was coming along, you just didn't mind. I mean, my story with the system is, like I said, I got it on launch day. I'd saved up all this money, and I remember coming out of work And then just the game store was like 25 miles away, and I had to drive through like this. It was almost the end of the day, and I'd left early. Told them give him. I'm not feeling well. I've got to go. I couldn't tell everyone I was skipping out to go buy a console. I went flying across, and there was massive traffic jams going over then. It must have taken me about an hour, and game were closing. I think it was either 5 or 5:30, and I was literally 5 minutes. 5 minutes away from them closing. I remember darting across the time, and I went to park my car, run across this city centre, and like banging at the door, and hey open, and I went barging in there and got my console. You know, just luckily like 2 minutes before the shut. And then, like I say, taking it home and just having an absolutely, it was a weekend, so I had an absolutely amazing time with it. But yeah, what a great system. I've done loads of stuff with it, with videos and that over the years, but one thing in particular I wrote a very long time ago. I did like a blog for the Seaman game. This is basically, if you've not heard of this, it had Leonard Nimoy doing the voice. It's basically a fish stroke mammal that lives in a tank that can talk. And it was very, very weird, but such a great experience. And you would basically bring it up over 30 days, sort of Tamagotchi style, where you'd be feeding it and watching it, but it would talk to you and it would ask you questions every day. And you know, because you had the microphone, and you'd speak to it, and it would pick up on things and get like little short conversations with you. It was really bizarre, but it was so interactive. I'd never seen anything like it. And I did an actual blog because I'd never done a proper playthrough. This is about 2007, so I don't think it's online anywhere anymore, because I did it on a forum. And I had such a brilliant time, and I brought it from birth to life. And the thing is, I went through all the stages of making it survive, but you can still kill it if you don't treat it right, or things don't go a certain way at certain points. But it all added to the experience of it being a live creature. And of course, every day you'd log in and you'd get these welcome comments with Leonard Nimoy giving you your famous quotes. Oh, it was bizarre. And I would highly recommend you track a copy down, or at least watch a video of it. But if you're going to play it, right, do not watch any videos. Just buy it and play it and live its life. It'll take you a month, and you only have to log in at first. You maybe have to log in for an hour, and in the first couple of days, just to get the wave of things and make things change. But then every day after, you may be playing it for 10 or 15 minutes, because you're just feeding it. You only need to do it once a day. They weren't making you do it like 3 or 4 times or something. But if you want, you could just visit the tank and talk to it and play around with him. And it sounds crazy. It's like bringing up a fish. But it's such a surreal, and it's a really funny and poignant finish as well. So it's well worth doing. I don't want to spoil it, guys, because like I said, I had an amazing time with it. And when you have conversations with the damn thing, obviously it's talking from like a database, but it remembers everything you've said and points, and it's very clever the way the software works to pick up on things you've talked about on the phone, and it asks you very personal questions, and it like remembers them, go and play it and just see, because I don't want to ruin it for you, but you'll be in for one hell of an experience, I can promise you. But yeah, I mean, what a system for playing games on. I've never, in all the years of playing games, there's never been a console like that that's had so much gold on it. Usually it's probably about 20-25% good stuff on a console, and then 80% junk. But with such a low amount of software, you know, there wasn't that many games. I didn't take account, but there wasn't many. I think it was 2.5 years, if that, before it all collapsed. But it's mostly quality stuff on there. In particular, like I say, Shenmue, obviously, that's going to cost a fortune these days, sadly. Like, Seaman's a good game, but Toy Commander, very, very cheap. You can pick that up for about £5, and it was basically a bit like Toy Story. It's a lot of that, like that soccer, but you were a kid. You never couldn't actually see the kid. Right? Basically, you had toys like a toy aeroplane, a car, and all these different vehicles, like a fire engine and stuff. And you'd have these missions, and it'd be like in the kitchen or the living room and the dining room, and it's all huge, and you'd be flying around and doing stuff, and you might get a time. It'll be like a time driving thing where you got to get past the toaster and the cupboards and everything in a set time limit. And there'd be these. It was really, really tough, and they had these amazing challenges. And the bit with the plane was amazing because it controlled really, really well, and you'd be circling around the kitchen and doing loop-the-loops and rings and all this, and collecting stuff, or using a helicopter to like pick up other vehicles or objects and things, like putting, I think it was like sugar cubes in a cup, that sort of stuff. It was just really, really inventive, and I don't think that company went on to do many other Dreamcast games. They did like a toy RC Racer, and it was, I think it was just called Toy Racer. It was the same sort of world but outside, and that was a freebie maybe with a magazine, or it came with with a broadband. I can't remember. It was a charity thing even, but very great games to have. Well worth tracking. I'm rambling again. I'm just trying to think of some other great titles. Headhunter, I think that started on the Dreamcast. That was a bit like Metal Gear Solid, but more action orientated in a way. Absolutely brilliant game. So yeah, you get a lot of love from me about the Dreamcast. You're probably going to struggle these days getting a working one. You've got to be really careful. I think there's a problem with the power switch. I mean, I remember I've had a few over the years, and there was always this thing where there's inside it, where there's like this socket sits over these like pins like this, and I think the pins can get very easily bent, or the port of contact. But you can fix that by fiddling around inside, and most of the problems are fixable, except for I think the laser. But I mean, there's talk of them doing like an SD card style thing that slots in the back through the slot. Oh, the House of the Dead games, that was it. It had some great gun games on the system as well. But yeah. Like I said, I love the Dreamcast. I'm sure if you're a retro gamer, you probably love it as well. But an awesome system, a lot of fond memories of it, and yeah, I mean, I've started to get some of the games to put on my JXD so I can play them through HDMI. I mean, I only really experienced Shenmue briefly on VGA, so to have it on this kit now, and it's like that razor sharpness, it just looks lovely. Only problem is the emulation is not 100%, so not a lot of the games work, I'm sad to say, but yeah. Anyway guys, as always, thanks for watching. Please look forward to another video soon, and please rate, comment and subscribe below, and I will see you next time.